sounds good. Probably won't. And we're gonna have maybe 10 minutes to reconfigure, but it'll be okay. Or could it sound bad just because of where it's coming from? Because unfortunately that probably isn't the best way to test it without, probably would be better if we could put, headphone in, but.
Yeah. It's a good start though. Yeah. The audio itself, how is it handled? Probably. Now, other things too. So right now, this is
I usually put like Tony back or Natalie together. This is so.
before you plug it in.
That aux plug back in.
Yeah, I just want to hear this.
Does not use this.
Yeah, I just want to hear. I can see the aux right
Oh,
here.
I see.
I just wanna hear it intelligently.
Hello?
Keep going.
I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep testing. One,
Should you have
two.
mic aux as that?
No.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like.
So the USB that comes in with this, if I unplug this USB.
It's private.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just wanted to hear from this.
No, the speaker was for when we had to do a call in one day.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And we just left the speaker.
so if I wanted to hear the sound out of here, though, right?
Out of the
So if I wanted to hear the sound out of here, go right? Out of the.
First time won't be the last.
I guess we'll switch this.
We had to completely. It shuts off, it tries to drain, and that's like telling us there's something wrong with it that needs to be fixed. So,
Was there something stuck in there? 'Cause sometimes you have to
well, it needed a new part is what it was.
Oh, okay.
So like, I called my computer, 'cause my husband's like, I don't want to fix it, just call somebody. You know, typical. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like,
Testing.
buy a brand new one for
Check,
400,
check, 1, 2, check.
you know?
Yeah.
And then
Testing, 1, 2, check,
you know,
check,
he's
check.
like trying to argue with me, and I'm like, I'm not spending $450
Check, 1, 2. I don't think it is.
to work with me on the price.
Testing, 1, 2, test, test. Check.
And, you know, they kept trying, you know, go back and forth. No?
Especially because you can go to Home Depot or Best Buy. Install it.
Yes, so, I made my husband do it. But I still was out $100 because I had to pay them $100 to come over. I was so mad. I should have kept like calling other places, you know? And,
I'm sorry. I'm surprised.
yes, Blanca with an L. With an L, yes.
Bianca or Blanca, okay. Yes, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. So we ordered the package. I mean, it literally took 9.5 hours.
I didn't go over that far to see that one. This one is definitely me. You know that for sure, huh?
I was home by myself.
Here, our buddy's back.
Hi.
Our buddy, Mrs. Odo. Ooh, this is very tall.
Took the wrong way. I feel like somebody's playing a joke on me that I always get the highest cheer.
Take her over there. Yeah. No, Tasha, you're good, you're good.
Oh, we have to help Tasia find her way.
It's time for a stronger.
Yeah, this one's, I feel like I'm sitting on the table. Okay. Ringer's off. Mr. Giacaris, how are you, my friend? All right, how are you tonight? Everything is wonderful. Hopefully. It's going to be 60 degrees this week, so
What's your,
so the weather forecaster says.
Maybe even Steve will go for a walk.
I'm gonna say. Keep up your head. I don't want it to get rolled down.
Steve is not going for a walk.
I'm gonna say 810. Oh, I'm on the highest seat. I'm gonna say it's a fast one. 810 will be really fast.
Because they'll cut your leather custom boots in the wrong directions. You can't fix them.
Save your life.
No, save the boots.
So did they cut your boots or not?
Nope,
There you go.
nope, they did not.
She almost died when she got the helicopter bill, though.
Actually, that is true, and it is not covered by insurance. But my friend who owns Double W happens to be a lawyer and let me use her letterhead.
Golden shot.
Yep,
You wrote it, huh?
yeah,
Oh, boy.
and she signed it, and they paid for it.
Wow. There's a friend of mine's mother just got you. She didn't die, she got winged by a bullet, but they couldn't tell.
Winged by a bullet?
Yeah.
That happens
It's a long
often.
story, which is not that interesting.
She out in the woods or what?
We've done this before, haven't we?
She was at home, and her brother,
No,
shot her.
that was not. You're right.
they're both
This
in
On
podium's
purpose?
over here.
yes.
Yes, you're right.
He's in jail, but he doesn't know why.
It is an interesting story. You
Yeah.
were lying.
So now he's in jail, and he doesn't know why, because dementia.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry.
Why am I here?
Oh, that's awful.
He just got mad.
Yeah. That's why you don't keep loaded guns unlocked.
Well, this is in Tennessee, so.
I understand.
Count down there, yeah.
But anyway, she got the bill for $800 because they didn't know. When they first looked at it, I thought the bullet was lodged in her spine, and it wasn't. Just, but they took her in a helicopter to Knoxville, Tennessee. $80,000.
I believe you. The
80,000.
helicopter alone, this was 22 years ago, was 15,000.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers.
It's crazy nowadays, man. Every time I get a shot, it's $45,000 retail.
And you know what? I just heard.
45,000.
Oh, I'm sure.
I just heard on the radio they're offering supplemental medical insurance for air ambulance, and they're saying on the radio now that it won't be covered. And I'm like, well, they could have told me that a long time ago, but
Well, I'm just gonna stay off horses, that's just,
it's a good plan for you.
yeah, man, absolutely. That's a motorcycle.
Same
I'd
difference.
stay off your motorcycle too.
That's worse.
Have you sold it yet?
I'm getting there.
All right.
I'm getting there. It gets scarier every year.
Yeah.
Who?
Is everybody but Tony
She's
here
sick.
right now?
That was the
Hey,
word that
so,
came in.
One thing that might help us, I should say, might help Lisa. When you're doing if you do a motion or if you second a motion, if you say your last name, that would help.
Sure.
Sometimes when we're listening to the
Nope.
audio recording,
6:30.
Okay. Yeah, I was just making sure that tech-wise, we are set.
I wasn't asking you.
If you didn't hear the tally, it's not gonna be here. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I hereby call to order this Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting at Warren Township High School, District 121 for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. The time is 6:30. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Squires. Fields. Anderson.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Pope.
Here.
Demonte.
Here. Okay, let's move on to the pledge. So please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's behind the TV. Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is the approval of the agenda. We just heard that we have to move recognitions further down the agenda, so we're going to have to just be flexible with that one. Wherever there's a natural break, then we'll have our kids in to recognize them. That being said, are there any other changes that need to be made, which includes pulling items from the consent agenda? Okay, so since there is a change, I move to pull, or not pull, but move recognitions to later in the agenda where there's a natural break, and we'll add it in. May I have a second? Okay, so second Pope. Any discussion? All right. I think we need to have a vote. So roll call vote, please.
Fields.
Yes.
Squires.
Yes.
Pope.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Carlson. Demonte. Motion
Yes.
carries.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, looks like we could have done a voice vote on that. All right, so next is public comment. Can we check the sign in? When I was over there before, I didn't see anybody that's signed in, but doesn't prevent anybody from coming up and providing. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to provide public comment? No, that didn't sign in? All right. So now we can move on to consent agenda. There's quite a few items there, which I don't mind reading, but someone will have to second it when I'm done. I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented, which includes field trip for boys wrestling to the IHSA State Championship to the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, on February 18th through February 21st, 2026. Field trip for girls bowling to the IHSA State Championship to Rockford, Illinois, on February 19th through February 21st, 2026. Field trip for girls wrestling to the IHSA State Championship to Grossinger Motor Arena in Bloomington, Illinois, on February 26th through February 28th, 2026. Field trip for future business leaders of America to compete in the National State Leadership Conference in Springfield, Illinois, on April 9th through April 11th, 2026. Summer hours for 2026. Personnel recommendations, Exhibit A and B. Minutes of regular session and executive session of the February 17th, 2026 Board of Education meeting. And finally, bills paid in the amount of $1,290,139.37. May I have a second?
Second Pope.
Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Pope.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Fields.
Yes.
Squires.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Demonte. Motion
Yes.
carries.
All right. So now we're going to move on to Committee of the Whole. I move for the Warren Township High School Board of Education to move to the Committee of the Whole meeting. May I have a second?
Second, Anderson.
Okay, it looks like we can do a voice vote, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we have now 4 items on here, and I think Dr. Weisman is going to walk us through all of them.
Yeah, the first item on here is all right, the first item on here is our plan on a page priorities for next year. I'm just gonna keep putting this in front of the school board every month. This past week, I tried something new. I gave staff a copy of the plan on a page draft that you've got in front of you, and then invited them to come. I spent all day Thursday and all day Friday at each of the campuses. Thursday was at O'Plain and Friday was at Almond, and did an Ask Me Anything lunch. So staff could come and ask questions about anything that's going on at the district level, at the campuses, with the school board, that maybe they have individual questions about. But I also invited them to come let me know what they thought about the items that were on the plan on the page. So a lot of discussion happened around the lunchtime supports. There's still a lot of interest in trying to figure out how do we make that the most as effective as we can for our students. There's still a lot of growth in that area. So just a lot of discussion came down from that. Let me see what else is on the agenda. I think that's probably in terms of the plan on a page for next year in the draft, that's probably one of the bigger items that continued to come up. I know that we continue to talk about freshmen and supporting freshmen. We have been continuing to look at freshmen on track data from that first semester and just trying to understand it. As an organization, we have tried to learn more about freshmen on track. So continuing to talk about that data from the first semester is really important. A couple things that are coming up when we think about possible priorities for next year and supporting our freshmen include we do have continuing to work on the freshman advisory course on there as a draft. There is still a lot of interest in different ways that we could either continue to investigate it as we had, or possibly look at different ways at incorporating that. The design team is planning on inviting staff to like a learning session in the middle of March, where if you have lunch, a staff member during their lunch can come down to a room, get a little bit of an update from the plan team, and then get have an opportunity to give feedback to the plan team. I think that's going to be really important, but we'd like to continue working on that next year. Another item that I put on there has to do with failure rates for the first semester. Some things that I think are really important are, it makes sense, but students that are in attendance, either in school or are attending the lunchtime support classes, are the ones that are most likely to benefit. So some of the chunks of student groups who are still failing the courses even when they are assigned to a support class during lunch include students who have either really poor attendance, or they were assigned to the lunchtime intervention class later in the semester. So we have a few different rounds where students can come in, and the students that were able to catch pretty quickly immediately see, hey, they're not doing so well, we need to support them. If they're in that lunchtime class for the entire semester, almost all the time they're passing. We catch them, and I think some of what's happening is they're in there from the beginning of the semester. They start to get their grade up, but it's kind of hovering, and so the lead teacher, I think appropriately, says, let's keep them in that class. Even if they have a D or a low C, let's keep them in there because they're getting support, they're taking advantage of it. They got another relationship with another teacher that they can go to for help and support. But the students that either have poor attendance in general or get assigned to the class later in the semester, they've oftentimes, it seems as a possibility that they've started to fall behind, and they get to a point where they're so far behind that by the time they're assigned to the intervention course, it's a little bit more difficult, a lot more difficult for them to catch up and to utilize that support. So there's a lot of ideas about how we can continue to use that resource differently, but that is on the plan on the page for next year to continue to work on. I think one thing that's been new for us is also trying to talk about what can we be doing mid-year for students. So we get this report back at the end of the semester, we find out what students are failing. Dr. Bertola is doing a great job putting her team together. Every student that ended up on that first semester likely off track list, because we don't actually get that till the end of the year. They've assigned that to an adult, either an SST or an administration who's checking in with them, sitting down, setting some goals with them, and then is supposed to check up on them throughout. I think we still need to talk about the types of support we give them in addition to this intervention course, because once a student fails the class, it's there. And they got to figure out how to make that up at some point in the future. So I think that's a little bit of an update. We continue to talk about failure rates and freshmen on track. I think the staff wants to talk about it too. Yeah, so just in general, happy to talk through any questions or comments you have about the F report that you got, as well as other things that are on or maybe not on but need to get on that plan on the page for next year.
Looks like John has a question.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the data that you put in here about the literacy proficiency, which I suppose is reading for all practical purposes. So just for context, we have an average of the 18th percentile on the off track. What does that mean? I mean, in real terms of their ability to read and their literacy, what does that mean? Does that mean 2 years, 3 years behind? What does it mean? Generally speaking, I know it can't be 100%. I get all that, but I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around.
Yeah, so 50 percentile would be average, so an average ninth grader. If they're in the 18th and 19th percentile, I'm guessing that they are probably not 3 years behind, but they're maybe 2 years
Yeah, that's the
behind
average,
reading
so
level.
that means there's some
Correct.
below there,
There's some
there's
range
some
there.
above there.
I think generally, like big picture, what it means is those kids are having a harder time accessing the content, and school may be more frustrating to them. It may be more likely that they disengage.
And why they don't come.
And why they don't come.
Yeah. So these are the tests they took when they came in, right? The STAR test, is that?
Yeah, all of our freshmen take the STAR reading test when they're with us. Is that early on in the freshman year?
That's first semester, right?
Yes.
You said, yeah.
Yes.
We know, we're guessing, I think we know, that if they're in this percentile, then they're gonna need help.
Yeah.
No, there's no question.
Yeah, I should run it the other way. I think that's a good question, but you're most likely right that if you got a low percentile, you're probably going to need help more likely than.
Well, there's people that are maybe close to that, maybe in a higher percentile, but they're coming all the time, and maybe they're, because the group that's all on track without support is in the 64th percentile, which means they're above average, but some of them could be below average, right? You can't see all, which we don't need to see that detail, but I just think that I don't know what the answer is, but it almost seems like if someone tests out like that, then they need a reading class.
And some of those
they lose
kids,
an elective and they got to take reading.
Some of those kids are in reading classes.
Yeah.
So we do have a reading teacher at Old Plain that has, like, that's her entire course load is teaching reading. What was new this year is we started to level those reading classes. Before it was a freshman reading class and a sophomore reading class. So this year we began to level it. So kids that need a reading support but a little bit less reading support are in our reading improvement class, and then ones that needed more support are in our reading readiness course. So that was new this year, and the reading teacher's really thrilled with how that's going. She feels like she's able to definitely meet the kids' needs a lot better. Kids are more engaged with the work that they're doing, so it's been a beneficial change. But that's not necessarily that intervention isn't necessarily captured in the lunch support data, because both things could be true, right? You could be getting reading support, but still struggle in
Yes, of
your English
course,
course.
absolutely. And I think, just one more question before, just under clarification. Do we get this kind of data from the feeder school, or can we get this data before they come in? So that when they come in here and we schedule them, we can just put them in a reading class because they're behind.
We do articulate with the middle schools around students that are coming to us that we know have reading difficulties, and we do try to reach back out to them in advance. 'Cause STAR scores, IAR scores, who might benefit from being in a reading course, and we try to get them enrolled.
I mean, this is a question. If we get their scores and their reading scores from middle school and they're terrible or below average, sorry for the term, they're below average. So can't we just force them into a reading class?
We enroll them. It's not an elective, we
Okay.
just enroll them in it.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear about what is happening or what isn't happening, so, thank you.
I love that John preempted a lot of my thoughts. It's a first, and I'm so appreciative, so I don't have to wear him out tonight. But I share a lot of his questions and sentiments. As I was looking through the data, I saw that there was a correlation made between the attendance and the lack of success in the academics, and it made me wonder too, because it was said those that were failing had the poorest attendance. I've had experiences, and anecdotal as they may be, I also just want to also flip the script a little bit and ask if you feel like, and John kind of alluded to it, and when we talk about catching people halfway through the year, halfway through the second semester, at that point, if you're failing, you probably don't want to come to school. And so, like, when we look at attendance and we look at grades, I mean, I think we have to be careful to try not to make conclusions about one causing the other. It's a correlation, but it could be both, right? And we've talked a lot about, you talked about, like, you know, pairing them up with an adult and making sure that they have somebody, you know, working with them. And if they're not caught early enough, it makes me wonder if they don't give up. I would. And so I think, like, I can't appreciate the data we were given more, because it really makes me start thinking about, you know, what do we need to be doing? How do we need to be looking? It made me think about shared services. I know Dr. Bertola has been doing a lot of work about, as usual, but onboarding freshmen, trying to make sure that there's a smoother transition. We've been putting a lot of things in place to try to shore that up more. I just really encourage us to keep digging down deep into that transitional period, because, like we were talking about, when we're catching them after they've already failed a class, I'm not coming to school either. Like, I'm a failure. All the thoughts in my head would be telling me just to give up. So, looking backwards towards the feeder schools and emphasizing efforts that we need to put into place to bring those kids in and make them successful, and not trying to figure out some data point at the beginning of the year to triage these kids before they've already shown. Sorry, I'm talking healthcare.
Can I turn that into a question?
Yeah, please.
What understanding do we have about what's the cause of the excessive absences?
I don't know if I mean, I could guess.
Maybe that we have none. That would just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Dr. Keelan might be able to give us some general insight, because he's worked with the attendance specialists the most, and so I can give him the mic here in a second. But yeah, before we do that, I do want to kind of just write on this and say I really was pleased by the fact that the students that are coming, it does seem like
Yes.
we are helping
Yeah.
them. So if they're willing to come to school and they're willing to show up, and spending a significant amount of time in those courses, not all, but a lot of those kids are doing a great job, and I appreciate the staff that are putting effort
absolutely.
into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very good to draw.
I agree.
Pat, any thoughts on, I mean, we're always just guessing, but.
We are, and the chronically truant kids that our attendance specialist works with, we've tried incentives with raffles, with gift cards, with lunch with him buying him lunch, with reaching out to parents, doing house visits. We have not saw a return on our chronically truant kids with any of those incentives or interventions. It just has not worked. So he has shifted a lot more time into the kid, let's say, would miss 8, 12 days in a semester, and he has saw some return on it. Our chronically truant kids, which is some of the same kids that we're talking about earlier, there's just a lot of different factors that go into it. Doesn't mean we're giving up, because we're not. It just, there's a lot there, whether it's mental health, whether it's challenging environment at home that we're trying to partner with parent with. There's just a lot of things going on there. I will say all our efforts, though, we just haven't found that intervention that's really working for our chronically truant kids.
Because it's probably multiple causes.
It's definitely
Yeah.
multiple causes.
Okay.
There's no question about that.
Yeah, each child is different, so.
Right, and we partner with the ROE with our chronically truant kids too, and they're doing home visits as well, so it's not just us. The ROE's been very receptive, and Jim Lazzaro's worked very closely with them to try to, hey, maybe it's another face and it's not the school doing it. Maybe that'll be helpful. And it proves very challenging.
Pat, do you have any thoughts around AIM and the students that are in AIM? And do we struggle with attendance with students that are also enrolled in AIM, or is AIM something that seems to engage the kids, or otherwise they're not necessarily always having attendance issues?
Attendance might have driven them into an AIM section. That's possible because it usually correlates with failing grades. What we've found in AIM, which I'm very proud of, is the executive functioning part of AIM, where our teachers are working extremely hard with those kids to try to get them to improve their executive functioning skills, which then helps them in a classroom, even when they have academic deficits. Because as you probably all know, if you've had freshmen, younger kids, junior high kids struggle with executive functioning, and we try to teach that. And AIM has been very successful, I think, in my opinion, in helping those kids. And that's really made a difference then, because that AIM teacher is then like a mini counselor who's also following up with teachers, the kid in the AIM class, and all their teachers and what they're doing in their classes, and then working on those things inside of AIM as well.
You know, my mind immediately goes to freshman advisory hearing this.
Like AIM is like an advisory class.
100%.
Very similar.
So all of these lessons would be great to get back to the design committee, whatever committee it is, because if pieces of success with our kids right now through that program can be built into whatever this advisory program becomes, it could have a lot of success. But yeah, I'm just hearing this and I'm thinking, yeah, a freshman advisory could help with some of these things. Tasia, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I have a couple things here.
Yeah, the mics are, for whatever reason,
Here.
cutting in and out.
Here, I'll share.
Yeah.
Thank you. One quick thought, well, the first thought, I have a couple of things. To go back to, Beth, your question about kind of like an early warning system, maybe progress reports could be something that is an indicator that we use outside of the things that you're already doing. But in terms of this freshman on track document that you shared with all this information, I wanted to commend you on it. I really appreciate having the off-track students by demographic profiles there. That's really helpful. It really aids in painting a complete picture around what's happening with our freshmen on track. Really adding the attendance piece is really crucial. And I appreciate having the percentages and the numbers next to it. Now, although the numbers are small, right? We're talking about 70 students. I do think this is important to really lift when we're talking about the achievement gap and recognizing what all those small percentages here, but in the grand scheme of things, what they represent. And so I want to commend you on having that, and I want to continue to keep seeing that. And so that brings me to the plan on the page recommendation. I know the plan on the page is very robust and there's a lot of information, but wherever possible, if we could continue to highlight the demographics, just so we can continue in that vein of really painting a clear picture around what's happening with all of our students, right? So if we don't clearly have it laid out where we can identify the gaps, we can't be as intentional as we like to be about supporting our students, which we are. You know, this is really showing us that we're doing a really great job. And so I just want us to continue to keep that on the forefront. And one more thing about the plan on the page. I'm excited to see that the student empowerment groups continue. I was sharing with board members earlier that I had the opportunity today to attend the MBK symposium, so their year-end program where all the boys from Lake County schools come together, and the young men from Warren particularly really represented the school proud. So they did a really wonderful job just participating, getting up to using their voices to speak to some of the things that they've learned. So they really have grown in their leadership skills, and it was really awesome to see. So I did want
great to hear.
commend you on that and give them a shout out.
Yeah, that's great to
Thank
hear.
you.
I don't know if this is germane, but I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, this is probably a pretty common problem.
Yep.
Do we have any data on how we're doing compared to others?
Yes, we do, and I can get you that. I think we are closer to kind of the higher tier at this point. This last year we had a stronger year, so I can get you some comps from high school districts in Lake County. That's pretty easy to get you. I think there have been a couple high schools that Dr. Bertola has been reaching out to see specifically what strategies have they been using, because there are a couple high schools in the county that have put some effort into this for the last 3 years and seen some good results. Some of the things that she's seen is that at least some of the high schools in the county have rethought what the freshman day looks like. Some of it has been around something like advisory, or it might be rethinking how they do study halls, or it might be, I think maybe there's a high school that recently, like every freshman takes the study hall because they just want to make sure they have that in there. So we do have some benchmarks that we've been looking at and trying to find out. I can get the board an update on kind of where we fit in that.
I just have two questions, I think, quick. One is just to come back to what you were saying about the reading supports have been used to be by grade level, and now they are by reading level. Is that correct?
Correct. With the reading support class used to be within a school program. So we did not run the school within a school program. This year we weren't seeing the gains that we were hoping to see out of that. So rather than staying with like the grade level kind of approach with that, we opened it up and the idea being, let's meet kids where they're at. So this year we started with looking at more just as what reading level is a kid at, and let's make sure we're working with them there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate you being flexible to rearrange things. I can see how that'd be helpful. The other was just, do these on-track numbers, students who have IEPs are fully included in these numbers, right?
Yes.
They're not separated in any way. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Sorry to continue the line of questions here, but if this could be a interesting summer kind of research project, but the kids that are on the radar, whichever one you want to pick, are they move-ins? This is a question to ask. Are they move-ins, or do they come in from a feeder? If they come from a feeder, it stands to reason somehow we could bridge some communication, shared services, maybe our attendance people go the last month or two to reach out to these kids and families. I don't know. I just can't help but think if they're pre-identified in some way by our feeders, then our systems are separate systems, which in most counties and states would be one unit district, but because Illinois is the way it is, shouldn't impact the discussions, the parent support, the parent outreach. I feel like, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like if they're not move-ins, there's a solution there somewhere. And if it's more articulation, if it's, I don't know. I mean, to our attendance people, are they 10-month? They're not teacher schedule, so maybe there's an opportunity for them. I don't know what, maybe they have other jobs or don't care to work, but maybe there's some summer outreach for those recent eighth grade graduates before the school year even starts. So I'm coming up with ideas that might not even be good ideas, but the point, you understand my point, which is maybe when things are a little quieter, see if these kids are ones that we should know about.
Sorry, I misspoke. Actually, Jim Lazaro comes back with the clerical, so it's like a week and a half before school.
Like a
and
week and a half.
He is reaching out to the kids that were on his schedule from the year before, but he is not,
But not
with
the eighth graders. Because we're focusing all this effort on the transitions, eighth grade to ninth grade. We're talking advisory. We're talking ninth grade on track, freshman on track. Like, it would just stand to reason somehow we need to connect our systems, whatever that may be, or data. And that may require, if necessary, an intergovernmental agreement with their feeders to be able to share data. Great, let's make it happen. So if there's any kind of, it's FERPA, you know, we're not allowed to share that, fine, let's make it happen. So I think there's always a solution, but first maybe it's just see if these are kids that are known.
If I remember correctly, we just in the last couple of years, we've restarted programs that died down. I don't know if it was during COVID or pre-referendum that, do you want to talk to that, or?
So some of the things that we've brought back, and probably stronger than like pre-referendum, is like the lunchtime supports are definitely something that's new. We had different, like, we were doing like a math on track kind of idea where we were targeting math only pre-pandemic.
I'm sorry, I meant the eighth grade freshman transition.
Oh,
The
okay.
discussions that were happening, because those died down, didn't they, for a while? If I remember correctly, maybe I'm misspeaking.
So we did, just in the areas that I'm responsible
Okay.
for, we started probably after the pandemic. That's when we kind of built we had like an Achieve summer program. It was like a week-long thing at the end of the summer, right after summer school, to kind of help kids transition in. And Dr. Bertola and some of the people on her team started to actually built that into a summer school class. So where we have, they started working through having kids get some math, reading, writing support, and some working with a social worker and getting a half elective credit before they even walk in the door. So that's something in the last couple of years that we've developed that's stronger than probably a few years ago, than 4 or 5 years ago.
I think that, I think what we're all saying in a lot of different ways is we need to get with the people. If these 70 students are from our feeder district, or any percentage of them are, then we should know about them before they get here.
Yeah.
And they should know about them too, because obviously these people didn't get behind
Doesn't happen
when they got to the
overnight.
high school. They've been behind for years. So for us to solve this problem, working with the feeder schools is one way to help. And if they come from another district, obviously we just do the best we can and do whatever. But I think we have to know that maybe we do the Star says earlier, I don't know, but we have to, if they're not gonna share their data with us, then that's just ridiculous. I mean, that makes no sense to me. It's not logical that they wouldn't want us.
Yeah, this is super helpful. I think this is
Got it.
why the board is good to run by, because I was not thinking about articulation as much as y'all are thinking about articulation. So I'll add that to the plan on the page, is just 8 to 9 transition, or 8 to 9 articulation. We have a lot of, we're talking about ninth grade support, but I'll add 8 to 9 feeder district articulation on the plan.
And I believe that was discussed at shared services too, so.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense, because as you're saying, the data that you're showing us says when kids are here, we can help them. But, yeah, we need to know what's
Sooner.
happening as they
Yeah.
arrive, yeah.
Anyone else have anything on this topic? We've discussed it quite a bit. All right. Dr. Reisman, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think we're going to invite Dr. Moran up. And her and Dr. Gio Karas are going to give us an update on our multilingual team.
So we presented the multilingual innovation plan last May, and we wanted to come back to the board to share the progress that we've made since we discussed with you all last spring. So today, really, we're just going to review the progress of the 8 goals that we outlined last May. and talk a little bit about our goals for the department and how we're going to continue to work through the innovation plan in the next school year. Because we're very, very proud of the work that we did this year. We feel like we made a lot of strides, but we didn't necessarily get all of the things done in our very ambitious list of goals. But we are very proud of the work of the team, and we want to share what we've accomplished and where we see ourselves going in the future. So just to bring back some context, there are 11 goals in the innovation plan that were outlined, with some action steps outlined are described for 25-26 and 26-27. So what this slide is, right, that you're looking at is the 11 goals that are outlined in the innovation plan. But what we did when we talked to you last May is we kind of took the 3 that were specific to staffing and kind of combined them into a single goal. So that's why there's those 3 sub-bullets there under number 8, because within the staffing structures, we had a specific target to create ML lead teachers, improve our bilingual paraprofessional model, and increase student service supports for multilingual students. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of step through those 8 areas, talk about some of the things that we got done in those 8 areas this year, and then at the end we'll share where we see ourselves going in 26-27, and then we are happy to answer any questions that the board may have. So just wanted to revisit our vision. I think Dr. Moran did a lot of work to help us build this vision. We had a team that worked together. The team was composed of multilingual teachers, Dr. Moran, general education teachers, special education teachers. We had a cross-section of all of our staff to try and put together what do we want our educational experience to be for our multilingual learners. And the core is that first bullet point. We want equitable opportunities for all of our learners. Our multilingual learners deserve the same academic experience that our native English speaker students get, right? So we need to make sure that we're providing those experiences for them. We need to make sure that we're developing language and academic skills for those students as they're learning the English language through support and access. We want to make sure that our multilinguals are mainstreamed in general education classrooms, not isolated by themselves in their own separate little programs. We want to make sure those kids are accessing all of the things that they need to be successful in the areas they want to be successful in after high school. And ultimately, we want all of these students to excel, not just graduate from Warren Township High School, but to excel while they are here.
Okay, so our first goal that I wanted to bring up was improving staff understanding of multilingual practices. So this year, we went ahead and we had lead teacher trainings for all our lead teachers in both campuses. So we provided a district multilingual data dive and analysis. And then we also made sure that our lead teachers had received some training and access, which is our language proficiency state assessment. It's mandatory for our English learners to be assessed in the acquisition of English. So we wanted to make sure that our lead teachers had the knowledge and understanding of what the access entails and all the components regarding access. We also wanted to make sure that to improve our understanding of our staff, we established small group sessions during our PD days, and we were so happy to be given, again, the opportunity to offer on Institute Day. Our initiative was multilingual learners, so we wanted to make sure that all staff were provided the opportunity to attend different sessions pertaining to multilingual learners. And another area that we are also working on this year, and we provided this, was cross-department multilingual PLT time for our teachers to also provide additional trainings in multilingual acquisition.
And that's important because all of our multilingual teachers teach multilingual courses, and they also teach general education courses. So they participate in general education PLTs on Wednesday mornings, and they also participate in a multilingual PLT on Wednesdays. And oftentimes there's a lot of conflict there when you have all of these different things that you're doing and trying to be with. So we carved out specific times throughout the year where our multilingual teachers and our special education teachers didn't have to worry about like what are they missing in another department. We carved that time out specifically for those teachers that are teaching courses that pull from all different content areas, where they had a place to go and they're not having to worry about what am I missing because I'm attending this. So the next goal that we have is to increase the number of ESL endorsed staff. So we worked out an incentive program through an MOU to our contract where we would provide 100% tuition reimbursement for staff who are looking to earn an ESL or bilingual endorsement or a special ed ESL special education approval. So one of those three options, we partnered with National Louis University and College of Lake County to give our teachers a couple different options for taking part in that. So once we worked through all of that, how that kind of looked, I visited with all the teachers on a Wednesday morning at Eau Plaine and at Almond to share that vision. Here's why we're doing it. We want to increase the number of ESL endorsed staff so we can actually reduce the number of ESL sections that we are running. And I know it kind of seems counterintuitive, but like we have a lot of students that don't need they don't need to have sheltered instruction. They just need an ESL endorsed teacher in a general education course room or classroom, sorry. So we shared that vision. Then we followed that up with smaller group staff meetings for people who are interested off the initial presentation. And then I've been meeting with people individually as needed to continue to encourage them to sign up for the program. And so they have between now and pretty much next spring to get started on that. And we're starting the enrollment process right now, but we're pretty excited. We have about 7 teachers that have already signed up and are beginning courses this spring. So it's very exciting. I think just to give you another number, I know it's a big difference between coming to a meeting and signing up for a program, but we had over 50 teachers that did express interest and took the time to attend one of the informational sessions.
And are all the core departments represented pretty well in that?
So far, we have special education and across all core departments and elected departments participate in the informational sessions. But right now, we have special education, a lot of world language, and social studies have come forward, and student services. We have a student services staff member that's going to get their ESL and bilingual endorsement.
So moving on to our third goal, we are committed to increase our multilingual students in general education courses. Like Dr. Gio Karras said, we want to mainstream our students. We don't want to isolate them. So in order to do this productively, all this year we identified indicators for multilingual learners that would benefit from being in a gen ed classroom opposed to being in a sheltered classroom. And so we also developed protocol once we do move those students who are former sheltered students, found ways to communicate with our mainstream teachers on what to expect, just to make the process easier for them. Because again, some of our gen ed teachers might be a little bit hesitant, and we want to make sure we give them all the tools and information they need to make the transition smooth. We also, I have been working really intensively with our feeder schools. You were talking about articulations meetings, and I've been articulating with our feeder schools for since the beginning of the year. So we have about anywhere between 3 to 5 meetings that we have either in person or online. And we use those to find out about what their demographics look like and for them to learn about our programming. And we also use that time to identify which students are potential students that we might put in a sheltered classroom. So we created a form where all our feeder school teachers will write down and select from a drop-down, just so they can decide what classes based on academics, behavior. So we're getting the whole profile of the student, and then they're giving us suggestions as far as what classes they feel our students can benefit from that we currently offer. We did give them and created a criteria saying depending if the students are at this reading Lexile level and their literacy score and access. So we're looking at multiple criteria and having them also decide. After they do that, then we go ahead and we take a deeper dive with my multilingual lead teachers, and then we make our final recommendations for the incoming school year. So that has been working really well. The last thing that we're planning right now is for me to personally go to the feeder schools and meet with the families so that they can have a better understanding of what programs we have at the high school level.
Tell me about how many students we have coming in from the feeder districts who are multilinguals.
We have right now about 140 from Woodland and about, I believe, 50 from Viking River
But
Trail.
200 incoming freshmen who are
We're,
multilingual.
on average, we're usually between about 160 to 190 around this time of year. And then we usually end up with about 180 or so, and then we'll expect to have a bunch of move-ins that are either new to the district or new to the country in the fall.
When we meet, it's so helpful because, you know, for instance, they don't provide grades. So this is something that we need to know. They are standard based. So then we tell them about, you know, we just educate we try to educate each other and then learn about how many newcomers they have, how many learners they have. So we have very rich discussions, and I think the more we connect with the feeder schools, the more helpful it's going to be for placements and just to make sure that our students are being placed appropriately.
I'm having trouble understanding.
Oh. Okay, the students that would be integrated into the general education placement, those would be our long-term English learners. Students have been receiving English language support services since preschool or kindergarten, but they're still under the ISB rules and regulations. They're still entitled to receive minutes in English language.
So is there like a test that you give, or is
Yes,
there
that is
judgment,
the access test that students every year have to participate in a state mandated assessment to demonstrate proficiency in English.
Okay, thank you.
So the next thing, so the goal number 4 addresses the structural redesign. So we want to make sure that we are providing support for our multilingual learners. So one big change that we did this year is our EL resource support at Old Plain used to be a duty, and this year we have changed that to a teaching assignment. So that helps our teachers be able to really dedicate more time to work with our students. We also increased the sections of EL literacy. That's one of the courses that we offer. That course is geared currently right now for students who have plateaued and can't seem to score high enough on the exit criteria for the access, or who are very close to exiting and they just need the extra practice and skills necessary to perform better on the state mandated test. Right now it's a whole year program, but we wanted to make sure that we increased the sections at the Almond campus. And we have also began redesigning this EL literacy class for next year. We're going to change it. It's going to be 1 semester instead of 2 semesters. Again, the focus for the first semester will be to ensure that our students are provided with the language development skills to perform better on the state mandated test and hopefully exit and not be reclassified as no longer ELs. And then the second semester, we are in the works right now to hopefully work with some of our lead teachers in English, the students who get placed in a general education course. We want to make sure that second semester, if for some reason they're struggling a little bit, we can place those students in this EL literacy second semester, in the EL literacy course second semester, and work on the skills that they are struggling with in the general education classroom.
If I could jump in here, that first bullet point, the significance of that is all of our teachers are assigned 5 classes and then 1 semester of a duty, which might be like lunchroom supervision or a study hall. So changing that EL resource meant that it's the workload and expectations of it changed from being something like a study hall or lunch supervision to an actual class. It's a lot of more attention and resource from the teacher in a
So
good way.
it changes the feel of that class, like Danny said, from a study hall to almost like a lunch supervision, actively sitting down with students, making sure they're getting work done, checking in on class progress. So kind of like a blend of what's happening in our lunch supports, in our core areas, and some of the things that are happening in AIM to provide more services for those students. So number 5, expanding electives and career access. So this is one area where we did some work. We were able to achieve some things in terms of expanding access to electives for multilingual students, but we did not make a lot of progress in the career access aspect of this. Something for us to work on next year. We'll hit that at the end, but I wanted to kind of call out, like, we did some great work here, but this is definitely one of the goals that we did not maybe necessarily make it as far as we thought we were going to. But we did, the board approved earlier this year, a sheltered current events course. So that is our first social studies elective that's specifically for multilingual students. So talking about current events through a lens that is culturally relevant to a lot of our multilingual students. So we're very excited about that class next year. We were just able to finalize with CLC that we're going to add dual credit to graphic printing in 26-27. And graphic printing 1, that course is 32% of the students enrolled in graphic printing 1 are Latino or Latina. So that's a class where we have a diverse student population, and we're creating additional access to CTE courses and college level coursework there. And there's a pathway there for them to go from a dual credit in graphic printing 1 to a second dual credit in graphic printing 2. And so there's a nice pathway there for them to get a lot of early college credit through the digital media design program at CLC. And then this year, we did start to we were able to start providing some bilingual paraprofessional support in some of our elective courses. Some of our students don't just need support in core courses, they also need some support in our elective courses. There's still reading and technical knowledge and just other language barriers that arise in some of those courses, and our bilingual paras have been super helpful pushing into those and helping those teachers work with those students.
Just to add on, we were gracious enough to add another bilingual para for our Eau Plaine campus, because that's where our biggest numbers of newcomers are at right now. So having the additional para is, we're able to make sure that they are receiving additional support in their native language. So effective instructional planning requires instructional resources that will benefit our students. So this year, what we worked on is our ESL certified staff have been supporting several of our classrooms during a single period time. We do this because some of our students are dually identified, meaning that they require special education minutes plus multilingual support. So this is one way that we can ensure that we're providing minutes and services to our students who are dually identified. So
They might be in one class on Monday and a different class on Tuesday.
Yes,
is
that is
means?
correct, yes. Also, we are ensuring that we are providing all the instructional resources that they need, and with our Title III funding, supplemental resources that our teachers may need in some of these courses that contain our multilingual learners. And the use of access scores is some of the things that we're really looking at. In particular, we look at our literacy scores, our academic performance, on how the students are doing to help us with the course enrollment decisions that we make. And we also look a lot, this year we've been looking a lot at our historical data and transfer information to inform the sectioning process as we're moving forward through decision making for next year.
As I mentioned before, we get a lot of transfers early in the year. Usually between August and a little bit after Labor Day, we have a large number of transfers that come in. So we try to look at historical trends over the last several years. So as we build sections, we make sure that we're trying to account for seats in the classes, knowing that we're going to get about X number of kids, and making sure that when those kids arrive, we have places for them to go so they're in the courses that they need. And sometimes those seats fill up and we get creative with how we are able to meet their needs. But when we plan accurately looking at historical data, it helps with that process, especially at the buildings, to be able to make sure that we have places for those kids to go to get the education they need.
How often is Access used to, how often do you get scores, like?
We get, oh, go ahead, Sandy.
No,
How
that's
often
okay.
is it assessed?
We received preliminary access scores in mid-May. The students just finished testing
Mid-May of what year?
of every year. So
Every
they,
year.
they
Okay, I wanna
are,
make sure. That's what I was just
yeah,
trying
the
to-
administration is given in January and February. And then our preliminary source, we receive them in May. So that's when we make our final decisions after we've placed students for next year. Another thing we have to do, we then have to go back and look at the scores, because since we've had successful exit rates, we've had to change the courses for some of our students and place them into the general education course. So we had to do that for like over, well, I don't know, we had 51 students exit. Can't remember how many of those were seniors, but for all those students, we had to change courses for the following year because they no longer required English language support services. So to strengthen our family communication, we all know that that's vital. We need to make sure that we connect with our families. We're doing a great job with our students, our families that speak Spanish. We have good things in place, but we still know that we're not really fully communicating with all the other language groups that we have. So we're exploring currently right now outside contracted services that we can utilize for the upcoming school year to help us with those low incident languages. And we want to make sure that we are able to communicate them fully, or if they come into the building that we have something in place that for them. We don't want the communication to be a barrier. So in doing this, that led us to audit our internal translation processes. As we do this, our goal is to have a translation like playbook so that our staff and even our outside personnel understand the process for translation and interpretation. We do currently use Bright Arrow for our family outreach. Our families choose and decide whether they want communication in their native language. And if they indicate that in the registration, then we will go ahead and we enable that tag in Bright Arrow. And then our families then go ahead and receive their emails, their texts, or voice communication in their preferred language. So that's something we have in place. And so like I said, we still working on this, but I think we have a lot of good things in place for our Spanish-speaking families, but we also want to make sure that we are mindful of other languages that we have.
So it's updating our staffing structures. We did actually a little bit ahead of schedule. We added 2 multilingual lead teacher positions for this year. We were able to hire those over the summer. So this year we had a lead teacher for multilingual here at the Almond campus and one at the Oak Lane campus, and they had an immediate positive impact. Was supporting other lead teachers, working with student services, supporting Sandy in her work. The presentations with lead teachers that Sandy referenced earlier on the first slide, those were co-led by our 2 multilingual lead teachers. They did a fantastic job. So they're making great impact in their first year as the job continues to develop. The bilingual para assignment plan, we keep trying to be creative with, we have X number of paras, we have a lot of needs, and we keep looking at, well, what are our criteria for what courses do we have these paras in? How can we take 3 people and spread them get as much reach as we can so they're still effective, but we're also impacting the most students possible. And Sandy's team's done a great job of helping us be more efficient in how we can increase the reach of our bilingual paras. We've done a lot of work with the bilingual para and teacher partnership and developing communication protocols and understanding what the role of the teacher is and what the role of the paraprofessional is in the classroom, continuing some professional development with them. And then we also, as we hire new paras, we do now have a first-year bilingual para training program. So those paraprofessionals, as they join our team, we make sure that they're fully educated on how they should function in the classroom and what the expectations are, how they work with students.
And that was a great partnership because I worked with the special education department, so they hire our paras every year, so we are able to team together and work on training our para educators. And it's nice that our para educators, a lot of them do ask for professional attend professional workshops. So a lot of them attend some of the sessions that we have here, or a lot of them ask to go outside the district for trainings.
Thing I heard at CEDAL was they have para mentors. So I'm not sure if we do that here or not, but it was an interesting concept. I'd never heard about that somewhere else. So in the same way we assign mentors for teachers, they assign them for their paras, and because it's hard. You come in, and how do you acclimate to the staff, and where do you go? And sometimes you need a peer to do that as opposed to someone else. So you may want to check with CEDAW to see if they still do that. It might be a good model for us to retain paras who then feel supportive to do the good work that you're doing here. I mean, you're already doing some of it, so maybe it's another addition.
So that's all the great things that we feel like we got done this year. So the things that the work
We did a lot.
and that's not just Sandy and me. It's a large number of people working really hard to overcome some just systemic barriers and rethinking how we do things around here to try and come up with solutions. We do have a handful of things that we think we need, in addition to continuing that work that we've done this year and reflecting, making sure that we're improving what we've done. Things that we have on our list for next year is developing and refining those ML support models. Like we talked about resource and EL literacy, but we're still reviewing academic performance data. We're looking at like lunchtime supports and where their role is or is not with our ML students. We're looking at other high schools and how they support ML students. We're trying to determine what's the best structure for us, or if we're doing what we need to be doing in our current state. The pathway for newcomers to attend Tech Campus, we want to continue to work on that. So students who do come here, maybe they transferred us from another country as a junior, and they really are interested in the trades. We want to make sure that we have a pathway for them to get to Tech Campus. So that's an area of growth for us. Understanding one of the goals on the multilingual innovation plan was to increase multilingual supports through student services program delivery. Well, we have a large student services program redesign or change next year. So obviously anything around student services needed to be tabled to allow the change in the transition to student services. And then we'll come back to this and as that model takes shape and to think of teaching gen ed courses, and we want to support that, but it requires us to think differently about some of the things that happen on Wednesday mornings with our structures for PLTs, and how do we then create opportunities for those departments to meet with their teachers, because now that we have 2 lead teachers, we want to make sure that they have ways and mechanisms for them to meet with their departments. So other things, one of the things on the innovation plan was to start to investigate micro-credentials. Micro-credentials are like maybe teachers take postgraduate credit to move across the pay scale. Generally that's through a college or university, but districts do offer micro-credentials where they build a course in-house. That's a shorter length, might be 1 credit. It doesn't necessarily, if you leave Warren, it doesn't really do anything for you, but it might be 1 credit. That would be a +1 if you're trying to get over to MA 15 on our pay scale. So it's an opportunity for us to look at maybe there's a way to incentivize further, not a necessarily full graduate course, but ways for our teachers to learn more about serving multilingual students. Develop that playbook for assisting teachers with interpretation. We've done some work on our translation services, but we want to make sure that all of our staff are equipped and know how to access translation in any given situation. And tied to that is contracting, looking at services that companies provide to help us outside of Spanish. We have a lot of resources for Spanish translation in the district, but there's 28 other languages here, and we want to make sure that all of those families have that translation available to them so they can interact and feel included in our community. And then one other thing in the PD phase is we did not get to this year or facilitated walkthroughs for ML classrooms. We want to make sure that we are getting teachers the opportunity to visit our ML classrooms and see the instructional strategies at work that our teachers are using, and kind of have an opportunity to learn from one another. I think this one kind of got tabled as we took on our instructional rounding program this year. And as we work that process out, some of the lessons that we learned there hopefully will help us organize that next year. And I think that is it. So I think now, just any questions from the board?
And I just want to thank you because all of this that we've done could not have been possible without your support. And because a lot of these are initiatives and it requires time and approval. So especially the lead teachers, they have been instrumental. These two ladies are, we call it the power team. We're amazing together.
Actually, we should be thanking you because you're the ones working with our teachers and students.
My great supervisor.
So we're
helps me
just
and
trying to
support.
provide the resources for you to continue to do the good work that you're doing. So
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. I did have just a couple questions. I'm sorry, I kept them till the end. So currently, since you started the innovation plan, how many staff has received the ESL endorsement thus far?
So we just started it this year, so nobody's earned it, but just some historical data. So about when I began as assistant principal, so about 13 years ago, we had 3 ESL endorsed teachers in the district. Currently, we have about 22. So teachers just on their own have gone and gotten that endorsement, and we've hired teachers with that endorsement. So it's grown quite a bit, and we're hoping to continue to grow it more.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then for goal number 4, I was a little confused. I just wanted a little bit of clarity around the course, switching it from 2 semesters to 1, that ELL literacy.
We're still kind of working through how that's going to work because all of our courses even our year-long courses are really 2-semester courses. But basically, we're saying that first semester of ELL literacy, that's going to focus on access. And then the second semester is going to focus on those general education skills because we'll have kids in that course that might be in gen ed English already that need some help. But there's also a handoff that happens at the Almond campus from ELA 3 to English 3 or ELA 3 to Themes in Lit or Lang and Comp. And we want to make sure those kids are ready to come out of our multilingual English program into gen ed English.
See, thank you. So really meeting the needs of those students so they could have not exited yet, but if they have, they can still get the support.
Correct.
We don't want to, it's not a sink or swim. We want
Got
to
it.
make sure we
Thank
have
you.
something in place, yes.
Thank you. That's really helpful. That's it. I was going to ask how many language, but you answered that, 28.
what is our second most common language?
That was on my
out of
list, too.
curiosity, just total
I
curiosity.
know.
Be Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Okay, interesting.
Same thing.
Yeah, about 18.
What's
We're
the-
very close.
About 18 students speak Tagalog.
That's helpful. Okay, because when you hit
There are
20,
in our
don't you
program.
have
There's
to
a lot
open
more
classroom?
that speak
Yeah.
Tagalog, but in our multilingual program, it's about 18.
Okay, interesting. Board members, any other questions? We got a lot of information.
Thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I know
Thank
that
you.
it was a lofty list of goals to come into, so
Yeah.
I just encourage you for next year to prioritize, quality over quantity and make sure you guys have, a really good focus of what you want to accomplish, because we're here to support it.
I just think it was a great opportunity to pull a large number of staff members together and to co-design a purpose and a vision and really be thoughtful, taking a full year to be really thoughtful about what are our next best steps. And I'm really excited about what the product the team came up with and then our ability to follow through on a large number of those objectives for this year.
You stole a lot of thunder. I had questions that you answered it. I just shut up and listened.
We tried our best to anticipate you, Steve.
That's kind of scary in itself.
All right, well,
I
Oh,
just
go
like
ahead.
to say, I really enjoy hearing you say that there's plenty of support for Spanish-speaking families here. Like, that just is great.
It's great. It's wonderful. The district has done an amazing job just making sure that's in place.
Together.
all right, since I think we have the majority of our questions answered, if not all, I'm going to recommend we do recognitions since we have some students here that need to be recognized and then also need to go home and do homework or get some sleep. So adults can wait, students come first. Yep, and up here, yep. And then just speak into the mic.
Making everything.
Yep.
Does no one know how loud I am?
We need that for the recording, for the live and the recording, so.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. I am have the privilege of not only being the athletic director, but being able to introduce some elite athletes that we have here. What I tell the kids in their send-off is that this is not normal. to be this good. This is something they're used to, but we're very fortunate to have a school that has a rich tradition of athletic excellence, and so we're very proud of that. This winter, we were very, very blessed to have several student athletes make the podium at the Illinois High School Association State Tournament, which is the everything that we shoot for. It's the highest level that you can get to in high school athletics. And so the first one that we would like to recognize is Nora Werner. Tiny, so you got to come up.
I can't see you back there.
So, Nora's coached by Coach Kovac, and Coach Kavas could not be here tonight. But we're going to talk about Nora anyway. And so, it's all of these athletes have accomplished like so many things. We're going to just try and stay focused on the IHSA stuff. But Nora has just dominated in the NSC, which is our conference, and done really well in lots of tournaments, just like the others. But we're going to focus on just what she's done in her career just in the IHSA. So for 3 years in a row, she has gotten herself to as a state qualifier in the state tournament. This year, her success was a regional champion well, let me go back because Nora was injured. And so, as a state qualifier, as a sophomore, she had a really, really terrible ankle injury, and then came back to do a sport like gymnastics is pretty impressive. Especially she's an extremely diminutive athlete, but she fought back. She came back, and then she focused on the bars and the beam, and was a regional champion last year, and then this year came back actually for fun. She came back for fun, so she did all this just for fun, and was a regional champion on the bars and the beam. She was second place in the sectional on the beam and an at-large state qualifier, which means that her scores were high enough to advance her, even though she didn't necessarily win the tournament. That's how gymnastics works. And then she went off to the state tournament and took 5th place in the bars. So extremely impressive career. That's Nora. Gonna move on to our boys wrestlers. Coach is in the room, Brad Janisek. I don't think TJ's here. Coach Ryan Stewart is here to support. If you all just want to come up. So we're gonna start with Ilya Dvoryanikov. Ilya is a transfer student from Vernon Hills, so we capitalized on a transfer.
Nice.
And we did it the right way, so it's fantastic. He's had an extremely successful career, and if it's anything I could tell you about Ilya is that, he was at a school that was 2A, and he wanted to do more and be better, and so he really wanted to be at a 3A school. And so luckily his family was supportive enough to do that and brought him to us, which we were very fortunate to have him. And so he was a 3rd place finisher in 2024, a 2nd place finisher, and then made it to the big time 3A and ended up still placing 5th. Ilya also is an injured athlete doing these things, and so he will soon have surgery on his knee that he's had an injury for months. So he was a 5th place medalist with a pretty bad injury of his knee. So great job, Ilya. Royce is a familiar face in this room. We've recognized him a couple of times. He's a senior, weighing in at 165, maybe not anymore because it's been a couple weeks, but we recognized him for all of these previous successes, but in our history of Warren wrestling, he will have the 2nd most wins with 138. He was a 4-time state qualifier, which is also extremely rare. And this year, he got to the podium with his best finish yet, was a 3rd place finish. And he will be going to Northwestern University for a wrestling scholarship. So. Caleb Noble. Caleb's a junior, so thank God he's back. We have one left. This is a very sad day for me. They're all leaving me. And so Caleb's accolades speak for themselves. Caleb wins probably most tournaments he's in. He is a USA wrestler as well. He competes all over the world. He's probably he's one of the best wrestlers in the nation, let alone in the state of Illinois. One thing I want to add to this is Caleb has an opportunity, if he comes back next year and wrestles, to be a 4-time state champion. He will be only the 17th wrestler in Illinois history to do that, which would be unbelievable. No pressure, Caleb. If you had a chance to look at social media, probably what's as impressive as some of Caleb's wins is the flipping things he does when he wins. And so that's all. He could probably be with Nora on the gymnastics team. And he will, he's verbally committed to Arizona State University to wrestle. Another familiar face, Aaron Stewart. This one's tough, Aaron. Aaron's a senior at 190 pounds. Not that you remember all these stats like the rest of us do, but Aaron came in with a plan, and Aaron has moved up a weight class every single year of these 4 state podium visits that he's had, so he's made it more difficult on himself to prepare himself for the next level. Obviously, you've seen his success on the football field, which is also extremely impressive to have a multiple sport athlete as an all-state athlete. And so he's a 4-time regional champion, a 4-time sectional champion. He's obviously won 3 consecutive state championships. In his freshman year, he was 3rd. And I'm pretty sure he only lost by 1 point that day. So he is the all-time wins leader in WTHS history with 168. And he will be on full scholarship next year at the University of Illinois Champaign for wrestling. But I have a feeling that we're going to see Aaron on the football field as well at some point when he gets there. So congratulations, Aaron. What they have in front of them obviously will go on our wall. So these gentlemen are on our wall 3 times now in our gymnasium. And so these are the state boards that we have recognized them and hold them in our history books forever. And so all of them will also be on your way out the touch screen. They've all made their way into our Hall of Fame. So pretty impressive. And then I'm going to move on. Great job, gentlemen.
Good job, man.
Anna, you want to saunter on up? Girls wrestling is a relatively new sport for us. I'm pretty sure Tiana is the 5th state qualifier that we've had. I think we've had a state qualifier every year that we've had girls wrestling. So thank you for supporting new sports. This is what it's all about. The sport is growing. Mrs. Noble actually is just informed me that there's 8 Division I schools now that have adopted girls wrestling, and so I think this one's going to be one of those. And so, coaches Nick Grajonic, Tom Mikulay, Nick's here today, so thank you for all you do to make this happen. Tiana's a sophomore, so she's yes, right. And she was a regional champion this year, a sectional champion, and obviously went downstate this past weekend and had a 5th place finish. She had a heck of a fight. She wrestled against some really, really good experienced wrestlers, and I know this experience as a sophomore, she'll be back. She's feisty. She's strong woman. So we appreciate all that you've done and congratulate you on your success and look forward to so much more of it. All I have, I just want to thank our coaches. Yeah, I mean, maybe next year we'll have 6.
Bring something next time.
I want to thank our coaches. These things don't happen without great coaches who dedicate a lot of time to these kids. Head coaching, assistant coaching is not a season anymore. These are year-round commitments that these people are making. It doesn't happen without great feeder programs. Mr. Noble is a big part of that in our community, bringing our kids in and allowing them to have somewhere to go to do this, even when they're not in our gyms and our facilities. And so, great job to everyone. I appreciate you all, and super lucky to be here.
I know you're gonna transition, but I just wanted to say one more time, because I can tell from my fellow board members here that we're incredibly proud of our students and the successes that they've had. We know it takes a lot, and just know that your school board and your school are very proud of you. So great job. And then coaches, I think I want to echo again on our behalf that there's the talent of the kids, but then there's you who shape that, and the time that you put in, and we know it's a lot of work behind the scenes, or actually in front of the scenes too, but that you do to help guide our kids and get to them to the point that they're at as well. So I think it's just great job all around. We love the recognition section at every board meeting, but great job.
Just add something?
Yeah, please.
Just a shout out to the athletic department as well, because you know, the moments I do get to attend some of the sports events and whatever, you're there every time, and there you are. Not just you, the whole team, and I know it's a lot of work behind and in front of the scenes, so shout out to you guys, because you are there night and day. I see it, and we all see it, and thank you for all the love and support you give these kids, because we see it, so.
And I wanted to just shout out the parents here. I know the financial commitment, the time, the energy, all of that. And so it is so, the food, yes. It is so wonderful to see you all here. This is so exciting. Congratulations to you all.
The food.
And I don't know if you caught that, but Amy mentioned a new programming. So you did approve a couple years ago the girls wrestling team as a new team and staffing and resources for that. So we appreciate that.
Flag football.
Flag football is also one of those, yeah.
Well, I know we have one other item that's not athletic related, so students and parents and coaches don't, feel free, you don't have to stay, but
We're very interesting.
yeah, we do appreciate you coming tonight. Do you want to mention that last bullet point before we transition?
Oh, yes. So while they're rotating out, we did just put in here a recognition for the Regional Office of Education Foundation here in the county. You may recall that a few years ago, our, I think, well-established Schuler program was, I guess, disbanded due to outside factors, and Mike Carner at the regional office and the foundation that supports him has been able to support those students who had commitments from Schuler that Schuler wasn't able to fulfill, specifically annual tuition support to these really high-level four-year universities. When Schuler pulled back that promise, the Regional Office of Education Foundation stepped in and has been working to provide dollars every year for that. And Dr. Carner announced this week that he had secured the last of the funds needed to make sure those kids that had started school with that promise were able to get through with that same level of tuition support from the Regional Office of Education Foundation. So he's not here tonight, but wanted to throw them
He's done
a
an
shout
amazing
out.
job.
Where did you get their money?
Local, just county,
Really?
county donations, yeah.
I just appreciate that so much that we could follow through on that promise for those kids. And I appreciate his
It
help
was a
with
scary
that.
moment when
Yeah.
it all
That-
kind of collapsed.
Yeah.
I remember.
And these are adult issues, not kid issues.
Yeah.
So the kids
Yeah.
should not be harmed due to adults, I would say, poor planning. So
Can we get a list of the contributors? Is that private?
I can find out. I can get you the list of the contributors that he's able to share,
Fair enough.
if I'll do that.
thank you for that. And I think we're going to transition onto solar panels. So come on up.
So we have Charlie Narwald. He's the Project Development Assistant at Performance Services to talk about our solar field.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Charlie. I've been at Performance Services for a little under 3 years here. You'll have to forgive me. I am
pitch hitting.
I'm
for
pitch
someone
hitting
else.
today,
Yeah.
so I'm going to do my best to answer the questions I can. If I can't answer your questions, I'll get with my team and get back to you tomorrow on anything that I can't answer. Great. So tonight I will be talking about your Year 5 annual solar report. This report covers dates from November 2024 through October 2025.
You want to just scroll through?
Yeah, just scroll through.
Yeah.
I'll have a couple pages I want to touch on. So this one, important. So this is your savings over the past year. As you can see, we're about 3% lower than our projected savings, which is really pretty good. And I will talk about why we didn't fully hit our savings for this year, and maybe some solutions to how we can hit the savings in coming years. So this is the cumulative project savings from years 1 through 5. As you can see, we're within 2% of the projected savings. We're about, I don't know, $70,000 short there. And as you can see, the boxes get smaller as the years go on, and the explanation for that is a few of the incentive programs that you were in. ComEd gave you a one-time rebate, which is why you see that first year is the most payback. And then the next 3 years you were receiving SREC payments, and the final payment in that program expired at the beginning, or I guess the end of 2025. So that is why you can see some smaller paybacks as the years go on, but the energy savings will be there for every year to come. Just some weather data here. We can kind of skip over this. Essentially just shows that in the winter months, more cloud, more snow, less energy. Yep, you can keep going down, right here, perfect. So this shows how we came to our projections for the year. So you can see we're a little under $12,000 short. And the majority of that shortage comes from the savings due to the solar PV system. It's essentially just the performance. So the system did underperform a little bit this year. However, we do have some solutions and are going to set you up with a maintenance contractor who can look over your system and kind of monitor it over the year and hopefully get some of those months where the solar didn't produce as expected. We can get those up and essentially optimize the system after it's been 5 years with not a ton of maintenance performed. There are some things that a maintenance contractor could do to increase the performance of your solar array. This here really shows that kind of starting in April of 2025, the production has kind of dropped to about 20% lower than what we expected. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. The biggest one is some equipment downtime that, again, a maintenance contractor would really be able to help with. So this is an important one because I want to talk about your utility rate. So your utility rate here, we were able to find a bill from 2024 and use that utility rate. However, we do believe that your utility rate is actually higher than what we're showing here. So if we were able to get an updated bill from last month, anytime in 2026, I bet we would see some more savings that would actually get us closer to what we projected. We work with a few other school districts, like Zurich 95 and Grays Lake, who are neighbors of yours that have seen some much higher utility rates than that. So, and then finally, as I talked about, you received your last payment for your SRECs at the end of 2024. And so we just wanted to show that. It was a really great program. You guys are still in the program, but they pay you for, 15 years of production in the first 5.25 years to help incentivize people to install solar. Let's see if I have any more there. Okay, and then maintenance summary. So like I talked about, we would like to have you guys, and we've already started the talks of getting a new O&M contractor on site. This O&M contractor is actually the same contractor that installed the system, so they have some familiarity and have recently started not only a maintenance section of their company, but also a monitoring section. So they will be able to add some additional eyes on the system to see when equipment goes down, and then from there be able to react faster than it has been over the last 5 years. And that's really all I want to talk about. Get through it quick and let you guys ask any questions that you may have.
Who currently monitors for the performance now?
So performance services, we monitor it on a yearly basis.
Like a one-time? How does it work?
Yes, it's really one time, and then we really, the facilities managers, directors are the ones that have the eyes on the system, and we have a ticketing portal. So anything that they realize is wrong, or they suspect that something's up, they're able to use our ticketing portal, and then from there we're able to guide them on an action, or hey, you should get a maintenance contractor out there to fix something.
So after out one time, like, does that mean that you just check it once a year? I mean, can you tell me about what type of monitor, like Danny from his office, I can't imagine is going to know if something is broken down and not working. So who is monitoring that type of
well, so we warranted the system for the first year. So we kept eyes on it on a daily basis for the first year. After that, we hopefully trained your staff on how to monitor it. There are softwares that they can use to see, hey, there's a couple of pieces of equipment down, and then from that point they can reach out to us. And then hopefully this new maintenance contractor, they will be monitoring the system on a weekly basis going forward.
So it sounds like it's our internal team that's doing the monitoring of that
Sounds like
on a
it.
daily or weekly basis.
Correct. And something came to light like in September of 2024. We realized in the readings that it wasn't showing that we were producing any power. So we did contact Performance Services. They came out and they did an assessment. There's a lot of layers in a solar system. There's controllers and reporting and everything. And to get that all where it's supposed to be running like it's, like it should, we didn't realize. We've had some transition with personnel, so I think not everybody was on the same page as to how we read the system and when we need to be concerned about getting maintenance in. So by getting a maintenance contract where they're going to come out on a regular basis and check the system, I mean, the panels, there could be broken panels. We're next to an athletic field. Sometimes that happens. And then that the controllers are working and reporting and everything is in place. So we're going to move forward with the maintenance contract.
And if you have had district turnover, we are more than happy to come out and train any of those new facilities guys on how to monitor the system for a day, 2 days, whatever is needed to get them trained on the system.
You got my attention with the maintenance summary and the firewall that you want brought down, and somebody put up a firewall. What's going on?
We've had a few so one of the main pieces of equipment on site is called an inverter. It turns the solar power into usable power that you'd see just plug into a wall. Those inverters are, I believe they're a German company, so they speak to Germany on a...
We're back to the multilingual thing.
Exactly. I'm trying to loop it all together. But essentially, your IT sees in a piece of equipment trying to contact Germany, and in the past have cut that off when that's actually all our communications to the system. It's nothing harmful. It's just...
So we're going to address that, or?
Yes, and that's when we found out that we weren't getting the reporting that we should because it conflicted with the firewall, and it took us a couple of weeks before we realized that. Yeah, no fault of theirs, but it was just the way the system works.
Yep.
But yeah.
But when they're not getting
You pick an
data,
IT,
do they not reach out and say we're not getting data, or
They're not monitoring it.
they're not monitoring it? Yes,
It's
of course.
It's us. So does the maintenance package include like supplies, and so like if there is a repair, or does it not? Or is it just?
I don't believe it does. I believe it's an hourly rate, and we recommend they come out once a year to do a kind of system walkthrough, and from there,
Get an assessment, here's some
Yes.
things you need to consider repairing.
Yep.
Maybe like the lifeline of if it's a now thing or a later thing?
Yep.
Okay, but it doesn't include any parts, labor? Okay.
I guess I'd like to see the cost of that maintenance contract versus if that's something we were expected to do in-house and should be doing in-house, we should probably just take a look and see what that would actually cost versus what it would save.
Do we have the expertise?
And it may be very cost savings if we do have somebody on board. That may be the case.
I think with the panels, you have to have someone very experienced in like an electrician.
To do the maintenance, to do the monitoring.
Yeah, the monitoring, we should be able to do in-house.
What's our relationship with performance services? Like, we had these first handful of years where we were getting these credits, that's kind of died, that's gone planned, but gone to the wayside. Does our relationship with performance services change now moving forward, or do we still get the annual reviews?
We'll
from
still
you?
get, so we're a national energy, or an accredited energy savings company. So the way we wrote our contract with you for this project, we are required by law to deliver these reports on an annual basis. So that is not going to stop, and we're also never going to go away for any questions you have, or we really want the best for the district, so we're not going anywhere. Whether that's training your facilities guys on how to better monitor it, if you do have an electrician at the district, we have a solar specialist who literally, it's all he does is he tries to get people at districts to perform the work themselves so the district can save some money. Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
You may not, I know I don't have much knowledge around the solar panels.
Okay.
So I'm just a little curious. Can you speak a little bit to, I'm looking at the graph on the days where we have heavy cloud coverage and sometimes snow, and obviously the graph is lower where the solar production would be less. Can you just talk a little bit about the impact of, the gray days? We do have a lot of those.
Yeah, so you'll see that the graph really jumps up about like April through September, and there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, the days are longer, there's more sun, but a big thing is the sun is significantly closer to the earth in the summer months than the winter months, so it really shows in those summer months. If you were in a more southern latitude, you would see that graph kind of be more stable, but obviously we have some crummy winters, and not just from a snow standpoint, just from it's a gray, short days for about 4 months of the year.
So does that greatly impact, we can't help where we are, right?
No, so we built all of that
savings,
into
so
our
that was-
projections
got it.
at the beginning. If
Got
you
it.
go to one of the slides, you'll see that like the projections for the winter months are really like, and sometimes half of, right here. So like you can see that.
Good, so we're
in
not
the
expecting
winter
to
months,
get
we're not
something that's
projecting
not.
you to be as high in the summer months.
Perfect.
So that's built in to our projections, as well as snow is, we call it soiling, are built into our projections as well. Yep. So you can see that it didn't happen here. Oh, in January, perfect. Like we probably had a less snowy January than we expected, so we produced more than we projected.
I know I've asked this before, but snow generally doesn't stick to the panels.
Nope. So they're at like a
They're designed.
25-degree tilt. So they're, as you've driven past them, they're at a pretty significant tilt. But they also heat up as they start working. So the snow actually melts from the bottom up. And at some point, like if you ever sat, don't think any of you have, but if you got a lot of time in your hands and want to go sit out there after it snows, you'd see that after a while, all the snow would start sliding because enough of it has heated up, and gravity does the rest. So no, there's, nothing you need to do with the snow.
Do we have? There was, if I faintly remember back to when this was all started, the SRECs, if they were renewed again in Illinois, we would have access potentially to those. Potentially, because, am I correct? Like, there may be additional money, but one, they need to be renewed, and two, we need to qualify for that renewal?
Yep.
Am I remembering
So
correctly?
again, it is a possibility, but we haven't gotten any indication that the current program is going to be renewed. But if it does, I don't see why you wouldn't be eligible.
Yeah, I just don't want to, I bring that up intentionally,
yeah.
correct? Because if it is
Bring
renewed,
it up
one of
every
us
time.
needs to have eyes on that. I mean, when I say us, I mean you guys. Because then it needs to, or you, your company. So that way it triggers somebody to, like, whether that's you on our behalf, or I think if I remember correctly, you helped with the paperwork, but we actually had to submit it. So somebody just needs to remember if they see that in the news or get wind of it, or.
So you have my promise. I am now, so
Yeah.
I wasn't at Performance Services at the time you sold this project, but I am now the point person for all our new districts in the SREC program. So you have my promise. If there's a new program, I want to get all our old customers into it.
Good.
You got his home number?
Can I ask a question? So
Yeah.
this last year we have, our savings this last year was about $350,000. We didn't get any credits. So that's just raw
Energy savings.
savings. So like back of the napkin math, we saved up until this point about $3.5 million. We should expect that every year then moving forward we're saving about $350,000.
Yeah, and it's honestly only going to increase because as your energy rates go up, solar is actually only a better investment.
So I want to go back to like the initial money that we put on the table was between 7.4.
7.3, 7.4, something like that?
Yep.
Total.
So
With or without incentives?
Without.
Without.
without the
Paid,
incentives.
and all the money came back.
So half of it has come back?
Yes.
About half it's come back, and then in the next 10 years, less than 10 years,
Yep.
We'll have recouped all of that. So it takes about 15 years is what we're looking at probably.
Yep, before
maximum.
now there's a federal incentive for solar, so before that, yep, that is about to pay back.
And what's the projected death of this system?
The panels themselves are warranted by the manufacturer from a production standpoint for 25 years.
You got at least 10 good years.
Yes.
They don't quit.
No, so they
become
own,
less efficient.
there's still
Something-
panels that
everything
were
dies.
produced in the 70s that are still producing. They essentially just degrade at 0.5% per year.
This is a long payback. Like, it's we reap the benefits when and actually pretty well once we get there, but you just have to wait.
Marathon, not a sprint.
That's correct. You have to wait a minimum 15
The
years.
payment
to
is
get
not
that.
coming out of our operating budget.
Yeah.
Say that in a different way for me.
The payment is not, for the $7 million that we paid, that is not coming out of the operating budget.
He didn't ask you to say it slower, in a different way.
Why is that important for us?
Because all the savings is hitting our bottom line.
We bonded for the.
All of our savings is coming back. We invested $7 million to save $360,000
A year, yeah.
So where else are we gonna put $7 million as a school district and make $360,000? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That was better.
So
It's
that's why-
dividends.
but
It's a it's like you're investing in a stock that gives you an annual dividend.
Right. Gives you your money back.
Yeah.
Okay, you were gonna say something about
And
the
it's a
solar
savings.
panels.
Yeah.
The solar panels
It's
are
a real
warm
savings.
for 25.
It's a loan.
Sorry, for 25 years. But were you gonna say something about the rest of the system?
Yeah, so there are, so the inverters that turn the solar power into.
DC.
Bingo. They turn the direct current into alternating current. Those are essentially, in my opinion, your risk item. They are pieces of electrical equipment that are constantly running for, at this point, 5 years straight, every day. And those panels or those pieces of equipment usually have a 10-year warranty on them. And then after that, it's just really important to monitor them and make sure that they're working as expected. If not, you would need to purchase more inverters eventually.
So replace them as they.
Yep, but these are some pretty robust pieces. These are some nice inverters that you have here. So I don't anticipate that, but I wanted to be honest with you and say that.
And the maintenance plan, this would be like an annual renewal, or?
Yeah, so it would just be like an annual, one time a year. The maintenance provider comes out, one guy for 8 hours a day of work, does his assessment, and then you go from there.
Tesla versus Edison. Alternating versus,
Is this a contest?
Yeah,
to
it
see
is.
who's the bigger nerd? Is
There's
that
a
what's
word
going
for it,
on?
but a phrase for it, I'm
All
not gonna
right.
use it. Yeah, go on.
All right. Any other questions about solar?
So my question then is probably more like a board question. I wasn't here when the solar panels came into play, but
Good company.
I do.
We got one.
No, I was here.
I do get questions about it sometimes.
Well, all three.
And I know before I started, when I knocked doors, people asked me about the solar project.
Okay.
So to me, this seems like, although it's not an immediate return, it does seem like it's a long-term investment that we made that is working out. That's my impression. So I'm curious if that's what the board's impression of this is as well, is that this is working out.
You can't get the kind of return on your money that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Any other way, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time we do this presentation, I look that we are not getting the savings that were projected. But yet, when you talk in terms of the investment, then it starts to ease me in ways. The only thing that starts to make me nervous is talk about replacement of parts and
Sure.
turnover of, I know, but it's all a balance sheet, right? Like what goes in, what comes out so far.
Making money.
Right.
Okay.
And at the time, it wasn't purely money either. It's our efforts towards sustainability and also being a leader in that and inspiring our students to look at that. And we even talked about some of our science classrooms, like learning, hands-on learning, look at the online dashboard, talk about electricity, and, so there was that benefit as well. Now I think a lot of people are doing solar. Woodland puts them in.
District 56.
Yeah.
Next time you go up north into Wisconsin on 94,
Yeah.
take Highway KR, which is where the drag race strip is on, go left and to go west. And
Great
there
Lakes
are
Dragway.
acres and acres and acres and acres of solar panels.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be 100 acres at least.
Just out of curiosity, I'm assuming we do have any additions to our science classes, or, are the kids studying this thing at all?
I don't know. I haven't been to a science class.
We'd like you to
I don't know
report
if
on
I'll-
that,
I'll find
please.
out.
Just
Because that's a good incentive.
It
There's
is.
something out there that
It'd
they
be
can
fun.
learn.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Did a good job
Especially
filling in.
pitch hitting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks
you.
for taking one for the
Of
team.
course,
Yeah.
nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice of you to say so.
Thank you.
All right, and I think we have one last item, which is the long-term financial projections?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Rob Grossi is here from Illuminate, and he will give us our financial projections.
Great, he sat here through this.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I took a nap. Just kidding. I actually was doing a Zoom call in the classroom, so that was perfect. Good evening, everybody. So I was here last year. One of the best practices for a school district, especially in the finance department, is to have an independent assessment of its financial condition and future financial projections. And I think that's especially important now because many people think that the finances in Illinois are going to be very challenging over the next several years. So I'm going to present. Since we last met, we completed a fiscal year. We learned a new consumer price index, which drives your real estate tax revenue growth. So every year new things develop. So this is Chris and I, work together on putting together your assumptions, and this is, and then I kind of give my independent assessments on things. So what you're going to see today are the projections based on, without any bias, no best case scenario, worst case scenario. This is down the middle, where I believe there's a 50% probability better, 50% probability worse.
The last time you were here,
Yes.
you looked us in the eye.
And what'd I say?
And you said, under no circumstances can I see you'd ever need to go to referendum again.
I'm going to say that again. I may say that again.
I'll see you
I
later.
don't want to tell the end of the story. Well, I mean,
He has
well,
some caveats.
you'll see. Well, yeah, we'll see how that lands at the end of this. So the first section is, do I have the ability to change it? Or?
Yeah, I think if you click the big button.
So I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about the district's financial history, which obviously, as you know, has been very interesting. So this is revenues and expenditures since 2017, over the past 9 years. And obviously, the district was having financial challenges before the referendum. They had to reduce a lot of things in the budget at the same time to stay relatively balanced. And then the referendum passed, and the district was able to generate revenues to bring back up fund balance reserves and to have resources to invest in capital without having to issue additional debt like you did for your solar panels, as I learned tonight. So this is a comparison of the revenues versus the expenditure. So again, before the referendum, the district was deficit spending and got the operating deficit got to almost $10 million the year before of the referendum. But since that time, the district has had surpluses and has had relatively healthy surpluses, which have been stable generally since 2023. Last year, you finished the year with about a $15,000 operating fund, $50 million operating fund surplus, not counting capital investment. And then the other thing that impacts fund balance is capital investment. And if you went back historically, as the district was going through its financial challenges, not a lot of money was invested in capital. So the other side of this is that you've got the money, but you have a lot of needs in your facilities. And you started to address those really 2024, 2025, and built into the projections are assumptions that more fund balances will be invested in capital project. So cumulatively, over the last 9 years, your revenues over expenditures were a little over $50 million, and you received $24 million in bond proceeds. So you had $74.3 million of sources, and then in terms of uses, $17.7 million of those fund balances went towards capital investment. The rest went to regenerate fund balance reserves. So, so you can see that your fund balances, because of the surpluses, have grown to a little more than $80 million at the end of FY25. In terms of the financial forecast, on the revenue side, so basically your district gets almost all its money from real estate taxes, versus school districts that are property poor and have high percentage of low-income students. They get most of their money from evidence-based funding from the state. So your district basically grows at the rate of inflation. And since 75% of your money is real estate taxes and the rest of it is state and federal money, which is relatively flat, basically your district grows at about 75% of inflation. So inflation, which was 5%, or the CPI that we were able to use to grow real estate taxes, was 5% a couple years ago. That's been essentially cut in half. So the growth rate has slowed. So when your Board of Education considers its tax levy in December of 26, that rate is 2.7%. And right now, year over year inflation is trending 2.4. And the historical inflation is around 2.3, 2.4. So more than likely, your major revenue source is going to slow to that type of growth rate. And we're projecting, because you could get a little bit more from new taxable property in the district, and we used historical averages, your real estate taxes will grow 2.5% going forward. Evidence-based funding is projected to grow $100,000, which is pretty consistent with your historical growth rate, assuming that the state of Illinois still has the funds to continue to grow evidence-based funding. Interest earnings will begin to decline as the Federal Reserve is expected to lower rates. Now, your fund balances are going up, but interest rates are going down, so it'll kind of level off interest earnings. And then state and federal grants are projected to be flat during the projection period, which I think is a pretty reasonable projection. Yeah. Which one?
Particularly federal.
Well, I'm more concerned right now at this moment in time. I'm more concerned about federal revenues as it affects state revenues, because more than likely Title I money and IDA money, whatever's going on in Washington, the primary focus at this point in time has been more the administration, cutting out the administration, but the funds would still be flowing through the state. But the other side of it is that the state of Illinois has financial challenges, and they rely on federal dollars. And since Springfield and Washington aren't playing very well right now, that may impact federal dollars, which would impact an already vulnerable state of Illinois.
Answer my question.
Yes. So whether it's directly through federal revenues or state revenues. Right now in the projections, I'm not showing that as an impact, but I think but I'm very close to putting that into my likely scenario. Right now it's still on a little bit on the end of unlikely, but I think that it's barely over the.
But the good news, in totality, it's still a smaller percentage than.
It's a smaller percentage.
What we are looking at.
Yeah. So essentially, the way I see your district and this issue is this: if the state's financial challenges causes them to freeze funding to schools, that's not a huge impact on your district. Some districts I work with get $3 or $4 million in growth every year. That's a big impact. You get $100,000. It's meaningful. It's a salary or two, but it's not crippling. However, if the state's financial challenge is grave enough and they have to do something such as shifting pensions to schools, or they have to cut evidence-based funding, which ironically, right before COVID, I was actually called by the state to calculate what it would look like to cut state funding by over 32%. And I had to calculate the impact on all schools, because that's how bad the state was before COVID. Then just like we got ESSER money, the state got about $8 billion in ESSER funds. They were able to pay off their bills and stabilize their condition. But now that's gone, but the budget is way higher now than it was. So a lot of people are anticipating major financial challenges at the state level, with the federal impact only to accelerate it. So we're keeping a close eye on that. But last year, they, instead of putting $350 million into evidence-based funding, they only put $300, which they only gave less than $350 million one time, and that was the one time they froze it in the same year that they asked me if they cut it. They were able to freeze it by borrowing money from the federal government. So next year, the question of the guarantee of you not having to go to referendum again I would say that if you're able to control your own destiny, you guys will be able to control your own destiny. If things happen that are outside your control, such as a financial crisis in a state that's significant enough that they pull money away from districts like yours, because the poor districts in South Suburban Cook County, for example, that rely on evidence-based funding money, if they pull money away from schools, those will be the last districts that they pull money away from. Yeah. So collectively, we're projecting that revenues are going to grow 1.9%. Now, I have the opportunity to work with several districts, and as you project out 1.9% revenue growth in a school district, that's an alarming thing, right? It's hard to operate. You have collective bargaining agreements you're dealing with. You have rising healthcare costs, especially. That's been a huge jump. It's hard to maintain a 1.9 expenditure growth to match that. So the districts I'm working with, and I just did a Zoom call with a school district that wanted me to project out 10 years, which I don't like to do because they're thinking about some capital stuff. And it just mathematically, things start going down. It's just a matter of when. But fortunately, your district is in a position where the districts that are starting off with balanced budgets, their deficits are going to start right away. your district has put itself in a nice financial condition that you could absorb this a lot longer than most school districts in Illinois. On the expenditure side, salaries are projected to increase based on current and projected increases to compensation levels. We are projecting approximately 40 teachers retiring and being replaced by lower teachers, so maybe a $140,000 teacher being replaced by a $70,000 teacher, for example, saves money. In our projections, we have staff size being flat. So if the district does reduce staff size as enrollment's going down, if there's that opportunity, that will improve the projections. Health insurance is going up, Chris, with 16% next year. That's a big rising cost. That's about half your benefits. The other benefits grow at about salary increases because, the board paid IMRF and FICA, Medicare, and that kind of stuff. But projected out on average, although the first year is a big jump, we're averaging 8% in benefit costs, but that's an average of about 12% or so in projected employee benefits. So we're hoping there was one of the biggest jumps in health insurance was due to the Ozempic type of medications that what we're being told is that they cost about $100,000. They cost about $1,000, and the employee only pays $5 or $10 or something like that. So that's driving up the use of that. Is, at least the short term. Maybe long term it'll provide benefits, but short term that's one of the things that's really driving up health insurance costs. On the capital investment side, and this could change, but we have $16 million on your addition project. And then we have approximately $5 million annually in the budget for other capital investment projects. I don't know if you need to get into specifics, but on average, that's what you'd be spending. And then all our expenses growing between 2% and 4%. So putting that in a blender, we have expenses growing at 4.2%. So mathematically, you always want to try to have revenue growth and expenditure growth match or have revenue higher. We're projecting a gap of about 2% or so. So if that happens, then what would happen is our annual non-capital surplus will start to decrease. So while we're not projecting the district to be deficit spending over the next 5 years, if revenues do grow at 1.9% a year, and we can't bend the expenditure curve down close to that number, then your surpluses will start decreasing. But they still will be surpluses through the projection period. That's what we see right now. Which would mean that fund balances would continue to grow. And so now these fund balances embed your capital projects. So so essentially the projected surpluses will pay for your capital projects, and you'll be able to maintain and actually increase slightly your fund balance reserves. So that's a positive picture. Now, if you said project out 20 or 30 years at 1.9%, things obviously, the longer you go, the more, the slope is eventually going to run out. But we're not there this year. And one of the benefits about doing this every year is that we get that we new information comes out. So we'll know more about the state next year. We'll know more about the CPI trend. We'll know more about if health insurance is starting to slow. So a lot of that changes the projections. But at this moment in time,
that projection is based on an assumption that health insurance rates are not going to continue to go up so drastically as they are right now.
Correct.
Okay.
They're going to average 12%, but they're projected to increase 16% next year. And that's been one of your most growing things. So the three major variables to kind of focus on is the consumer price index. For your district, it's ranged from 1.4 to 5% in terms of the usable rate for revenue growth. And each 1% change has a cumulative effect of $800,000 per year. So if inflation stays around, goes back up to around 3%, it was 2.9% when you approved your last levy, then projections look better. If we go down to pre-COVID levels where it was like 1.2%, and 1.7, 0.7, 0.8, then obviously that looks worse. But again, that at this moment in time, year over year is 2.4, and we're projecting at the Federal Reserve's target is 2%, but the historical average is around 2.3%. Growth in employee benefits, that's been your largest growing expenditure item. It's grown 16% in 24, 10% in 25. So that's something to keep a close eye on. And then capital investment. Obviously, how much you invest in capital has an impact on your fund balance reserves. Observations and recommendations. Successful passage of the referendum has allowed the district to improve student learning opportunities. I know Danny was able to bring back a lot of things he wanted to bring back. Regenerate fund balance reserves and invest in its facilities through building improvements and expansion. The district's projected to have resources to continue to invest in its facilities at the levels defined in the projections without the need to issue additional debt. The primary threat to the district's financial condition is currently a state financial crisis that would flow down to school districts. Although not imminent, it must be closely monitored. And then just continue to monitor and make your larger decisions under the guise of a long-term financial projection. So I think it's still a good story. I've the last couple of weeks, there's been some more difficult board meetings where, you're in a position like you brought back wrestling, which there was some cool stuff that you guys do. I mean, you have the ability to do stuff like that. There's other schools that are going to have to be looking at cutting things right now. So if there's things that are good for the kids, whether it's student learning, whether it's opportunity, whatever, you're still in a position to do that, to continue to do more, and that's great. So we'll keep a close eye on it. Continue to do what you can to kind of close that gap between revenue growth and expenditure growth, and keep the good times going as long as possible.
You're always welcome to come with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
No, but I'm serious. I mean, if you weren't a district that was in this position, it's a different story.
It took a lot to get in this position.
Yeah.
Whether it was the referendum or the cuts that had to be made before the referendum, and I know a lot of people went through a lot of pain to get here too. So it hasn't been,
Well,
there's a reason to celebrate, but
I can assure you,
I appreciate that nobody had fun getting here. So.
No, and I feel strongly that there's going to be a lot of districts that are going to be having very public financial challenges over the next several years, and there'll be a lot more conversations about school consolidations and things like that because of what I'm seeing in other school districts that I feel very pretty strongly are likely scenarios. At 2%-ish type of revenue growth, it's going to really impact a lot of schools.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Any discussion for us around this topic?
See you next week. If you don't trip and fall on your face.
There go our insurance rates.
Right?
Yeah, I think the only comment I have for us is to we need to continue to be mindful as we add positions. That's the bulk of our budget, our people, salary and benefits. In a district, and benefits, in a district that is reducing in student enrollment. So even if we maintain our current staffing levels, it's kind of like increasing because our student enrollment continues to drop. So it's a cautionary tale for us that, again, doing nothing is like increasing, and we just need to be careful every time we add something. It has a long-term impact on us. Everything else, in the grand scheme of things, is a one-time hit, but that, it's a big slice of the pie. So just a comment. All right. No other.
The only other thing I was thinking, I should have asked, but the only thing I was thinking about is we've poured a lot of money into capital things that have been so overdue.
Yeah.
And,
they've been needed.
maybe like at some point that kind of tapers a little bit too. So hopefully, but we've put a lot of effort into capital stuff, so.
Yeah, because we deferred on so many things, we're now having to make up for that.
Time.
And at some point, because we're making it all up at once, it might lessen. And it is the thing that people tend to cut Yeah, well, that and, I mean, you defer like that. Maybe we go an extra year without a coat of paint, or like, I don't think we're at that point of needing to have those conversations, but we've committed to reinvesting back in our buildings. It's good for our staff. It's good for kids. But yeah, there might be a point where we have to have that discussion, and that goes back to our long-term capital.
Well, and it wasn't a criticism. I guess what I was thinking
Yeah.
is we've I don't want to say front-loaded, but we've done a lot of catch-up, and at some point that'll taper off, hopefully, where we're not sucking, or maybe not. John's looking at me like, shut up. But I mean, there's always roofs, right?
Paint on roofs every year.
I know, every year, right?
Well, that guy Chris is leaving, so she won't be spending $4 million on the roof.
It's a good thing.
Her and her roofs.
Heard her roof, it caused us trouble.
I wish I'd asked him this when he was here, but I'm assuming that he took our declining enrollment into consideration when he considered our budget and all.
I heard him say he worked with you on this, so you would be able to speak to that.
Yes, I gave him the numbers of the retirees that are coming in and the savings from the retirements with the replacements of new teachers.
You don't replace them all, you save more.
Yes, correct.
Well, yes. So, all right, I'm going to bring us out of committee of the whole. So I move for the Board of Education to adjourn the Board of Education Committee of the whole meeting and reconvene the regular school board meeting.
Second, Pope.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Fields,
Yes.
Squires,
Yes.
Pope,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
DeMonte.
Yes.
Motion carries.
As we bring our meeting to a close, a reminder that we too are respectful, resilient, engaged now and always. Go Blue Devils. We need a motion and adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Pope.
All right.
Oh, Carlson, sorry.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The time is 8:41 p.m.